I'm also turning on closed captioning. Okay. If you don't want to see the closed captions on your screen, you can always turn them off. But now we've got it set. So I'm going to turn on the video and we're going to get started. What I'd like you to do is put your information in the chat and remember so that we can network with you. Your LinkedIn URL, any other information that you want to be able to provide. Hi guys, I'm Linda Brubaker and this is Lunch and Learn. And we're excited to have everybody here. Lunch and Learn is a program where we're trying to provide job search information and support to job seekers. We're going to do a little bit of networking today. We're going to talk about a variety of different issues, and we're going to try some new things. So what I'd like to start is making sure that everybody has their information in the chat. What I do, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do in addition to Lunch and Learn. I also provide job search coaching. So if you're interested in getting some additional information about putting together resumes, interview prep, job search strategies, please reach out. But here's where I give back, this Lunch and Learn program, and I'm excited to see you all here. Sue's been with us almost every week, and I'm so excited to see her, and even more excited that she's actually going to be one of our guest presenters. Remember, we started having guest presenters every once in a while. So Sue is going to be our second guest presenter on March 10th? No, March 6th. No.
13th.
All right, so I was close. Sorry, too much time in the basement last night. So March 13th is going to be when Sue's going to be talking, and she's going to introduce herself now, and we'll tell you more about her program later.
Thanks, Linda. I'm known as Sue Mentors in the virtual world, and you may have already seen today that I'm the mentor with pom-poms because I want to make sure we celebrate things, even the things you don't necessarily think of as things to celebrate, but just the fact that you outreached or did networking in some fashion, or at least got an interview, feedback, rejection, whatever it is. We need to make sure that you all are celebrating the steps you're making and taking. I'm excited to join you all officially as a speaker in 2 weeks. And I love that Linda and others, when they come to me, I have a list of things like, oh, I could talk on this or this. And Linda said, no, Sue, I want you to talk about moving from tasks to achievements or some version of that. Because what I'm really known for in the last few years is making sure you all learn how to tell your results in an evidence-based way, especially for those of us that are knowledge workers. Most of you on here are, and you don't have sales quotas you've exceeded, you don't have business revenue you brought in, but you still have a lot of results. So you'll be hearing more about that. I give you the how, and so you'll learn in that brief session what you can do to take it forward and start to use it. Thanks, Linda. I love that you let me come to these because Linda and I learn so much from you each week.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I love. And I learned so much from all of you, from Sue in all of our interactions and from each and every one of you. And the other thing that I love is that we're all here to support each other. So we're going to start actually by doing a quick go round. If you've had a success that you want to talk about, we would love to share it and celebrate you. Anybody have something to share? Yes, just raise your hand. Hey, Al.
Hey, I'll start. So last week I had 3 interviews. I had an interview like on at Tuesday. That position is still kind of in the works. Wednesday I had an interview, and then I had a follow-up interview on Friday, and then I got the rejection yesterday from the one job. So, but like we said, like I think we were talking earlier, it's up and down, right? And so I think I got some good information this morning from that other job that I think I'm kind of the top contender for. So crossing my fingers, and yeah. So sometimes weeks go by like that, right?
They absolutely do. But the celebration of the fact that you've gotten the interviews in the first place is great. Mm-hmm. That you moved from one interview to another in that stage is fantastic. Yeah. And actually, I like the idea of celebrating a rejection because number one, you're getting the answer right. But importantly, right, you can also now go back to them with an email. And I really encourage everybody, when you get a rejection after you've had a conversation, send an email back thanking them for their time, talking a little bit about what you learned from them and why you're still excited, and asking if you can continue to keep in touch for future opportunities, but then asking them, can you please give me some advice? What would you suggest that I do to better prepare for a position like this with you or somewhere else in the future? I found that it's not a guarantee, but I have found that that's a great way of asking for feedback because it takes them off the hook. It's not, what did I do wrong? It's, can you be a mentor to me and give me some advice to help me prepare for the future? Now, the other thing is that when you reach back out like that, you will stand out in their mind for future opportunities. You will be one of the extremely few people who follows up. That not only demonstrates your professionalism, but it keeps you at the front of their mind, especially if you do continue to keep in touch. And that doesn't mean every week, hey, do you have anything? Do you have anything? Do you have anything? It's making sure that you're providing relevant content, commenting on some of their opportunities or some of the things that they're posting about as that organization. It will help keep you in their mind. And when something else appropriate does come up, you will probably be somebody that they'll consider. Certainly when you apply again, your name will be a known commodity. And that's an incredibly important thing. Okay. So congratulations, Al, both on the interviews, the moving forward in some, and the rejection in the other.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I was approached by two internal recruiters, one for the New York Times and one for GoDaddy, which is a big domain acquired website. So I had both scheduled for this week, but yesterday was with New York Times and they ended up having to cancel because the girl was ill. So that one has to be rescheduled, and those things happen. So it hasn't been rescheduled, but the GoDaddy one is on Thursday. So those are both initial conversations, and I'm hoping that those proceed.
Excellent. Congratulations. Now, did they find you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
The power of LinkedIn is having that great profile and making sure that people understand exactly not only what you do, but what you're looking for. So optimizing it by making sure that you add additional skills, that you get those skills endorsed so that they show up in the searches, and so that you're really telling people not only what you can do, but what you're looking for and what you can do for them. Remember too, that your LinkedIn profile is also a way to demonstrate who you are, because that's one of the things that's going to be important. And we're going to talk about that more later. Congratulations. Okay, Mark.
Okay, I'm good. Good morning. Couple things. This is kind of an interesting story, but there's a moral at the end. I got contacted by a recruiter yesterday who had an opportunity with a law firm, and he explained it as he had the opportunity in front of him, and it was like, yeah, I'm not 100% on point with the role, but we spoke, and he said, okay, let me send your resume over to the employer, and he sent it over, and sure enough, I heard back from him in about 30 or 40 minutes that he moved it on, and they wanted to talk to me yesterday. So I had a meeting with the law firm administrator yesterday. Went very well, but the weird part about it was that she asked me, she said, well, did you send your resume in last year? I said, yeah. She said, and that role was perfectly on point with what I do. She said, well, that job we never filled. We just got busy at the end of the year and we never filled it. And we have a posting. And she said, I don't know why the recruiter didn't submit you for that role, but I think you'd be suited for that role. I said, you know what? You're right. I think I would be more suited. She said, let me talk to people internally and get you set up for an interview for that role. So the bottom line is that, like you've said, Linda, even if you think you're partially on point, pursue the opportunity because you never know, even internally, where that goes. So it went from being considered for a role where I was somewhat qualified to now being considered for a role where I think I'm very qualified. And I actually told her during the interview yesterday, I said, if you need me to straddle both, I'm pretty sure I could do both, so I could be like a utility player. So I thought that went over very well. The other thing to turn the subject a little bit is um, I, I became acquainted with someone that we've sat down and he helped me with my LinkedIn profile because my LinkedIn profile was basically dormant. And we sat at a Panera for about 2 hours and he does this. He's a marketing expert by trade and he led me through some things and he helped me kind of spiff up and re-energize my LinkedIn profile. And since then, the traffic being driven to my LinkedIn profile has like doubled or tripled. He's taught me how to add content. He told me to reach out for recommendations. So I got excellent recommendations from my former employers that are really, really wonderful that are now posted. So what you've said about LinkedIn being a tool, 2 weeks ago, I would have said, not so sure. This week, I sit here and say the traffic coming there. It's not immediate gratification, but from what he says, it does pay off over time. So I would encourage everybody to, using the guidelines that Linda's discussed, post and improve and move forward on your LinkedIn profile because it really does help.
It absolutely does. And he says a couple of important things, one of which is not just redoing your profile, making sure that it says what you want it to say in the way that you want it to say it. It also talks about engagement, making sure that you're active on LinkedIn. If you look like you're a dormant profile, you're just waiting for somebody to reach out to you, you're less likely to get those contacts and those views. But also, did you hear him say that the recruiter said, didn't you apply for another position earlier? The information that you send in doesn't go into a black hole. An ATS, everybody's scared of that concept. An ATS is really an electronic filing cabinet. And your resume is going to go into that filing cabinet, and it can easily be pulled up again for future searches inside the company. Now, there was something in Mark's resume previously, the name stood out. So she remembered it. And that's what we want them to do. Even if it's not the right opportunity now, we want them to know who we are for future and to be able to pull that back up again. So that's a great thing. And then the last nugget I wanted to pull out of Mark's comment was the fact you don't have to be a perfect match for the job to apply. If you match 65 to 70% of what they're looking for, apply and demonstrate how you fit those areas. Make yourself stand out there. Yes, Mark, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and the other thing that I learned about LinkedIn that was shared with me, and it's really relevant with this group, is that he told me to, in terms of revving up your LinkedIn profile, post like thought leader engagement types of things. Try and do that 4 times a week. And then for one other post, do something fun, a poll, something just of, so social interest that people will react to. So, try and do 5 times. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Linda. I'm certain that that's probably a judgment call, but I think it works. And
It does.
I've been doing that this week and posting things related to your industry. And then, 1 time a week, just post something that is, totally off topic that people will like and read and relate to.
So the idea is you need to be active on LinkedIn. 5 times a week is an absolute goal. But if you can do once a week doing something, that's fantastic. And it doesn't have to be a real post. Okay. You can comment in a professional way, as Mark mentioned, that thought leader, pulling your information forward on somebody else's post. Those relevant comments help to make you that thought leader too. And those will show up on your profile. In fact, those relevant comments, those professionally based move the conversation forward, should be anything from, now we're saying 12 to 18 words at a minimum. And they show up high in that LinkedIn algorithm in terms of how you get noticed and how you get found. So absolutely, at least once a week, if you can do it. Okay, that's your initial goal. Then build up from there. Great job, Mark. Okay, David, excuse me, Dan.
Hi, thanks, Mark, for that. That was really an awesome share. I got a lot out of that.
You're
I was
welcome.
just wondering where we could view this, the YouTube channel. Could you send the link
I will
to
put that in right now. Thanks, Dan.
so I can review it? I need to go. I wish I could spend more time.
Okay,
This is a great
YouTube
session.
channel link is going in now, right now.
Super. That's all I had.
Okay.
Thank-
Next, okay. Is it Ali or Ali?
Ali, a couple of things. Again, thank you very much. This is my second or third one, and I always enjoy, and thank you, Linda, for this. A couple of things. On LinkedIn, there is this new thing called top voices of something. I'm in product management, so I'm trying to get into the top voices of product management. You can get it for marketing, project management, and everything. Number one, how good is it? Is it worth it the time to spend and keep writing because you have to contribute? That's a one quick question. The second one is just right now, I just got a voice message from a recruiter. I had a conversation with them, with the hiring manager last week, and now they wanted me come back. So that is good. But the thing is that 2, 3 years ago, when I was not looking for a job, I was getting 2, 3 recruiters calls, pretty much 95% through LinkedIn. But now it's getting way less. And my question is it because there too many people are going to LinkedIn, or because the number of jobs is just not as, is the pool getting smaller, or what is it? And then also I go to Glassdoors and Career Builder, and they're basically nothing. It just
Correct.
gone down. So
So the questions that you asked really are things that I'd rather talk about if we can, and we'll bring up again during some of our Ask Me Anything kinds of questions. I'd like to be able to get to the topic today. So real quick, the answer is fewer jobs, more people looking. Okay. Recruiters of all types knowing that that candidates are out there and they're looking. So they're all searching for the same people. So your activity needs to be there. You only need to look on either a website specializing in your particular area of interest, okay, or LinkedIn and Indeed. That's it. The rest of them are all going to be providing additional information that's all the same. And we'll talk about collaborative articles when we do the Ask Me Anything. Okay, anything else that anybody wants to share? Frank, you mentioned you got a couple of rejections last week. 3 of them, but that says you had 3 interviews. To celebrate the interviews. Okay, so
So
part of
Linda,
what, yes,
Linda. So
Yes.
yes, just something to share. Okay. Before I jumped on this morning, I went to a Chamber of Commerce leads group. There were about 10 people in attendance, and I heard there of 2 new job positions that were available that I was not aware of at some local chambers here in the western suburbs of Chicago. So my encouragement to all of you, particularly if you're in any kind of business niche, is get involved with those chambers. Typically, they're pretty compassionate and will invite you to be involved. And when you're out there, you're going to hear things that oftentimes are not even advertised. So that was 2 things I heard this morning from going to that one meeting.
perfect. So that's another thing is that the networking is always an important piece of it. You never know where you can find those opportunities. What I'm encouraging is that if you find those opportunities and you think that you want to share them, you know that there's somebody else who might be able to take advantage of it, post it in our private chat, our private group, share it. And what you can do then is you can share, you can't share something from a private chat outside the chat, but you can share it with other people in the chat. You can always ask the individual, gee, is there something else? Is there another place that you might want to post it? But things that go in the private chat groups stay in the private chat group. You cannot copy them outside. Yes, Amy, and then I'd like to move on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just a little point I learned this week on networking. I went to a network event this past December for the Automotive Women's Alliance Foundation. One of the speakers there was a CEO of a tier one supplier. So it was very hard, but went up and introduced myself, connect with him on LinkedIn. And I noticed there was a posting for a position that I was interested in. So I reached out with him on LinkedIn yesterday. He responded within 2 hours and gave me 3 contact people within the company to discuss the job with. So yeah, networking's hard. I'm learning to do that myself. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but having that name, when I reached out to the hiring manager, he's like, "Oh, I have this position." The number one thing that I was told, do not immediately ask, "Do you have any job openings I'd like to apply?" Just network first, get to know the person. I didn't even have to do that. And he was automatically saying, "Hey, I have this job open on my team." So I applied for it last night. Haven't heard back, but hopefully it's a connection that will help get in, because there are a lot of positions. There are some positions, but not a lot of candidates, that just to get the interview is very tough.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
So being the person who demonstrates how you have the value for that role, how you
Mhm.
stand out for that role, absolutely
Yep.
helps.
Yep.
So the idea of networking is absolutely important, and sounds like we need to do something more about that here as well. But the
Mhm.
idea is, for networking, you never just ask for the job.
Mhm.
Certainly not as the first contact. Not even, do you have any openings?
Mhm.
It's the building the relationship. It's the sharing the information. It's the asking them about themselves.
Mhm.
Okay, whether you're doing it online through LinkedIn, whether you're doing it in person or in any other fashion, networking is relationship building. It always starts with trying to introduce yourself and primarily learning about them, asking them questions, building that relationship first, and then hoping that they will turn it around.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So always, but great job, Amy. And thank you for sharing it.
Mhm.
Okay. So actually that helps segue into our topic for the week, which is the idea of, how do you want to be known? How do you want to be remembered? If you were with us last week, we were talking about your elevator pitch. And your elevator pitch is that little bit, from my phrasing, who you are, what you want. Okay. I am, I can, I want, is my 3-phrase way of putting it. I am, I can, I want. But when we're doing this, when you're doing an interview, people who are on the other side of the desk are talking to lots and lots of people. And you wouldn't be there for me to talk to if I didn't think you had the basic qualifications to begin with. But remember, I don't hire just a piece of paper. I hire you as a person. So what I want to talk about today is, how do you want to stand out? How do you want to be remembered? Okay. If I'm talking to 5 people today, what's going to make you stand out in my mind from all those other 5? The same way that Mark said somebody remembered his name. Okay. Or Amy mentioned that she spoke with this guy, the hiring manager, without knowing he was a hiring manager. And now he knows her name. He knows a little something about her. He's got that personality mix as part of it. So how do you make sure that people understand not just what you can do, but who you are? Because that who you are piece is really important. Some of you have told me that you get through the interview process and they decide, no matter how good you are and the fact that you're a perfect match for the job, that you don't get the final offer. And you can't quite figure out why. One of the reasons, and it's right or wrong, is that idea of, in somebody else's mind, who would I most like to have on my team? Not the work, the person. It's that intangible that we can't really talk about, can't really put a good handle on. Yes, Joe.
Yeah, Linda, I just wanted to ask you a brief question. I was hired last week through an employment agency, It was for a part-time consulting firm. It was a recruiter, for a part-time consulting job for a pharmaceutical company in Skokie. It was one interview with the recruiter, 2 interviews with the different hiring managers at the firm. Short story, client decided to hire me last week. Great. It's part-time. It's probably 10, 15 hours a week. It's not nothing, but it's more money because it's going to pay like $40 some an hour. That was Thursday. It's Wednesday. I still haven't seen an offer letter, service contract. And this has happened before in the past that clients that have stalled this long wind up canceling contracts. Have you had previous clients that have gone through this before?
I have, unfortunately. I would say that I would just call back and say, I want to make sure I didn't miss your email.
Yeah, I've been keeping in touch with her, and she's just saying that HR hasn't received any notice from the client yet. They wanted to hire me, but I don't know if they're still hammering out a deal.
They may
Or-
be, and it may be that the search firm says yes, and the client has not yet committed.
Okay, I just wanted to get your insight in that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's keep going. So how do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be able to stand out? Okay, we only have a couple of minutes to do this, but I'm going to try something new, I think. What I'd like to do is put you all in the honor system. I'm going to put you in breakout rooms, small breakout rooms. I want you to introduce yourselves to each other. I want you to have a short conversation. We're going to do this for only about, I'm going to make them small. I'm going to make them just 2 people rooms, 3 people rooms. But I want you to do a quick introduction of each other. Whatever it is you want to tell people. And then at the end, I want some people to give me some feedback, and I'll do that afterwards. I don't want to give away the store at the moment. So here's my only thing when I say I'm putting you on the honor system. No notes. I want you just to, if you want to write down the person's names that you're talking to, that's fine, but no notes. Our goal is to think about what it is that you remember about that person after the conversation. Okay? So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. Now, when I put you into a breakout room, if you haven't done a breakout room on Zoom before, you will not be able to contact me except by saying help. Okay? At the bottom of your screen in a breakout room, there is a help button. Go ahead, go into that. If you need me to come into the room, I will. But otherwise, y'all are on your own. The breakout sessions will not be recorded. So say anything that you want. Okay. I'm going to assign automatically. We've got a lot of people here today. Why is it not letting me do this? There we go.
Do we go on our own to the breakout
Nope,
rooms?
I'm going to put you in that.
Okay.
Automatically.
Thank you. Sorry.
Welcome.
You'll see a little blue button pop up as soon
Right.
as she's got it ready.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, these rooms are going to have 2 to 3 people because we have such a short period of time.
Okay.
But they're there, and once it comes up on your screen, it's going to say join. Join. And I will let you know when we're ready to come back. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to get to know each other. And we'll go from there. See you in about 10 minutes, guys. Okay, so did you all get an opportunity to really get to know each other just a little bit? I know it was a very short period of time. Tell me what you thought about the experience. And then I have a question for you.
Loved it.
What did you like about it, Leah?
This is Peggy. I just thought it was great to connect with people and have a conversation and talk about some of our own experiences and to build each other up.
Perfect. Hey, Lori.
I loved it as well. And I thought it was great to meet people. And I even met someone who lives not too far away from me, so we can meet for coffee. Actually, meet someone face to face to network. That would be a novel thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any quick feedback? Okay, quick question. Is this the breakout rooms? We were a very large group. We did it for a very short period of time. Is that something that you might be willing to do again at a later date?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it was a good idea.
Okay, then we will do those again. We can't do them all. I'm sorry?
It was like speed dating.
And actually, that's exactly what it was. Okay. All right. So now,
Linda, just feedback further. Okay. Something that we did in ours, because the point of all this that you want us to do is to be memorable, is I told the other people in our group a story from my background that hopefully was memorable. And so I'm encouraging everybody on here to think about some special story that has made you special to be able to relate in it.
I like that.
it's a great idea. And that's part of the idea of what we're trying to do. When you go through and you do the tell me about yourself in an interview, too often what we do is we just recite our history. If you do that, you're not standing out from anybody else. I already have that history. I want to know a little bit more about what makes you you and what's important. What special thing that you're bringing to this organization, this role, this company, whatever it is. Same thing is true in networking. I want something that I can use to remember you. Okay. So that said, I'd like a couple of volunteers. Okay. Because what I'm looking for is not just the history. I'm looking for what you remember about the person. A couple of words or phrases that stand out to you about that individual. Okay. Tell me a little bit about them. Are they, engaging? Are they active? Are they energetic? Whatever it is. This is a person who's got this great smile. I can see the energy. This is a person who, what? Tell me a little bit about them. Leah, you look like you're ready to talk. Nope. Do I have
Her
any?
mic is hot. Can you mute her?
There she goes. Thank you. Okay. Yes, please mute yourselves unless you're ready to actually talk, because otherwise we get a lot of feedback. So is anybody willing to, no, let me phrase it another way. Who is willing? Okay. All right, Sue.
I want to talk to you about the synergy of what happened, because neither of them are raising their hands. But Louisa and Alan were in the group, and Louisa talked first and Alan talked second, and I did third. It was hard to be a job seeker, but I think I did it. Anyway, Louisa talked about what was memorable in Alan, and as she was doing it, she was describing how the work Alan does and what she does overlaps, because she's a healthcare executive who brings forward scientists like Alan with innovations and et cetera. And by the way, celebrate, Louisa's got an interview in a couple hours. So both of them did great jobs in terms of providing what was memorable, but the synergy of the group. And I saw someone else said something about the breakout room, and the person who was speaking said networking. So thank you, Linda. That was a very interesting way to do it.
I think we're going to try that again at another time. We have to find the right topic to do it. Or we may do it on occasion instead of the wins, put the wins in the chat and do some of the breakout little get to know yous instead of that on screen. Okay. Thank you. Chad, you've got your hand up too.
And so I was in a room with Bo Smith, and he struck me as somebody who's capable and accomplished. If I was a hiring manager and I had a conversation with him, he's the kind of guy that I would be fully confident in being able to step up and do the job.
Excellent. So if you had to describe him in 2 or 3 words.
Intelligent, experienced, compassionate.
Perfect. I love that. Okay, thank you. Bo?
Yep.
Okay.
So Donna was in our group, Chad and me, and Donna was there trying to help her daughter. And she described her daughter as this young woman who basically does everything. And somebody described her as like the COO of the company. Well, she's not, okay, but she does so much. And that just resonated. Wow, this is really a special person.
Good. Okay. But I also wanted to talk about the way that Chad characterized you. Is that the way that you would like to be known?
I'm
If you had
thankful,
three
Chad.
words to describe yourself?
I think intelligence gave me a lot of credit, but the passionate part I liked a lot. So thank you, Chad. Yeah.
Okay. We want to see whether there's that synergy, not just between the people in the group, because I love that, but to see whether or not people are pulling out the same words that you might use to describe yourself or want to, or whether there's another way that you can then look at yourself, because this is the way other people see you, and that's important to know. All right, so who else is willing to do that? To provide some information about the people they talked with. You all know me. I'm okay calling on people.
I'll go.
I've got Alan, then Margaret.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So I had Susan and Vanadurga in my room. Susan had some connection issues, so she had to drop off. But Vanadurga is in New Jersey. She's looking for a position as a recruiter. I think she's been looking for about 6 months, and I can feel the kind of the stress in her voice about trying to connect and trying to find something. She hasn't had too much luck with interviewing, but she's willing to go and try to do anything. At this point, she's, I think we talked a little bit about having kind of target companies, which she did not. She's trying to find a group, in-person group local to her in New Jersey. So if you know anybody in New Jersey or a group there or someone, I think I've heard groups all over the place. So if you know of anybody, reach out to her to help her out. But I think she's very committed to finding something, and it sounds like a person who's very dedicated to whatever she puts her mind to. So it was a pleasure meeting her.
Good. So give me 2 or 3 words that might describe her.
Focused, dedicated, committed.
Perfect. The reason that I'm doing that 2 or 3 word exercise is because at the end of the day, I'm going to remember those 2 to 3 words in my own head. I'm going to hear more of those in terms of how I'm thinking about you. Yes, I'm going to hear all your experience. Yes, I'm going to hear your stories. The stories are going to help me go through, but the 2 or 3 words that I'm thinking about will help me to remember who you are and your stories. So you want to make sure that it's not just making your stories memorable, the experience memorable, but you memorable, which means you have to be able to be willing to put yourself out there and a little bit about your own personality too. Okay?
Me, Peggy.
Yep.
Okay, so I met with two ladies. I did write their names down because I wanted to make sure I remember them.
Perfect.
Is Stacy Parla and Julie Ford, 2 very strong women, 2 very different jobs. Stacy is a writer. I have a lot of respect for writers because that shows me a lot of creativity and a lot of being able to think outside the box. And that's what I loved about her. I believe she's in, she's either New York or Long Island, one of those. But I love talking with them. The other one, Julie Ford, was in HR. She has an interview coming up. Let's give her a lot of support. And one of the things we've got to remember is just because the job description says these are all the things we want, doesn't necessarily mean you have to fit every single pigeonhole. And, that's the unicorn. And we were telling, Stacy and I were telling Julie, you've worked on different platforms that are similar in HR. You've got this, you can nail this. And 2 very engaging, smart, talented, confident women who I know will find a job. You've just got to believe in yourself and also look beyond that job description and know that you're going to be able to fit in there one way or another.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Anyone else willing to share? Leah.
Apologize for being on last time. So I found the unmute button and the mute button. So I just wanted to say that I met with 2 very fantastic people today, Ali Simnad and Christine Walter, no S at the end. both wonderful people, high energy, engaging. Ollie, if you were my manager in my previous role, I would have loved it. You're such a people person. Both people value teamwork, getting everyone involved, having everybody have buy-in to better support one another, which is fantastic because I feel the same. So Ollie is going for a product kind of process, project management type role, which I believe you had mentioned, Ollie, you've got some prospect in play, which is fantastic. I think you're going to do great. And some company is going to be so lucky to have you. You are also not ready to retire. So you've got a lot to give back, and you would be a wonderful mentor. And for Christine, she's wonderful at what she's passionate about, which I can also agree with for myself in terms of wellness and athletics for our young adults. And adults too, because I think she came from a college background in terms of her wellness programs, and she's looking to continue with that and pursue that. And she would also be someone I would love to collaborate with if I was in that industry, because it is something important to me as well. Both of them very personable, very, full of smile, full of energy, ready to take on whatever comes their way, and passionate people. They'd be a wonderful asset wherever they happen to land their next roles.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Leah. Can you describe each of them in just 2 or 3 words?
So for Ollie, he is energetic, very people focused, and loves the process and finding efficiencies. That's probably more words than you wanted, but
Okay.
I'm going to go with it. For Christine, she comes out as very approachable, very compassionate, and also very high energy.
Excellent. Okay. So Christine and Ali, would you describe yourselves in those same words too?
I think she's been too generous, but who am
Would you
I
like to be described in those
who am I
words?
to say she's not right? So
Of course. So it's the idea, would you like to be described in those words? How would you describe yourself, right?
I love if every single one of them were true, but between just us, she's been very generous, and I appreciate that.
Perfect. The reason that I did this exercise is to remind you that you are more than just your experience. And that when we're trying to do some of either the networking or even the interview process, it's important to share not just what you do, but a little bit about who you are. Because at the end of the day, I hire a person. I don't hire just the experience. The way you talk about your experience tells me about who you are. The way you share your stories tells me about you as an individual. That the way you work, the way you communicate, and honestly, whether or not I'd like to have you on my team, whether I think you'd be somebody that's easy to work with. So that whole idea of trying to remember to be able to put yourself out there is important. And we're going to come back and revisit this again. Okay. So that's all about what's going on. I'm going to remind you that you can copy the chat. I'm going to put the chat in our private group. The link to our private group is in the chat. Remember, you have to request access. If you and I are first level connections, I can invite you, but I can only invite you if we are first level connections. Okay. Otherwise, if you request the access, I'm happy to add you to the group. Reach out and connect anyway, though. But in addition to what I'm going to put in the chat, I'm going to put this video in the chat. I will put the video also on YouTube, but in our private chat, not only will we have the videos, we will have a copy of the chat itself. We will have a LinkedIn summary or a summary of the program. We will also have the ability to do some of that networking and continue that networking, asking questions, getting answers online in that private group where no one else can see it. If you don't know how to copy the chat and you want to copy for yourself, go to the bottom of the chat screen. There will either be a folded piece of paper or 3 dots. You can click on either of those and it will give you the option to save the chat. You can also just hit your cursor and copy everything that's in the chat yourself. Scroll up and down and copy it into a document for yourself. When I put it into the chat, because I will do that relatively quickly. Okay, when I do that, it will not necessarily share active links. So what that means is that if somebody's got their URL there, you may need to either just type their name because you now know who it is, they're in the chat, or you can copy it and paste it into your toolbar, or copy their name and try and find them that way. But it may not be an active link. That's a LinkedIn quirk. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. Any other questions before I let you all go?
Thank you.
Of course. All right. So I'm going to put a poll just so that you all know in our private group. I put one in before about the idea of should we continue to do some of the sharing of successes. And we went a little longer on it today than I would have liked, but I think it was really useful. So the question might be for my next poll, just so that you are aware, would you like on occasion to do some of this networking just for the sake of networking in these small groups and just do the sharing of success on that day in the chat so that we have that same time frame? Okay, so you're getting the heads up. That's what the poll is going to be all about. In the meantime, connect with everyone. Please connect with everyone. If you all want to reach out for a quick chat, my link is in the chat as well. The chat also has the link to our private group to request access, as well as the fact that I added a link to register for the WBL Liveathon. This is probably the last time I'm going to advertise that. The WBL Liveathon was a 4-hour program, okay, in which a lot of, I don't even remember how many programs. I think there were 16 or 17 different programs during that time frame. But there were panel discussions. I was part of one with another recruiter and with a hiring manager where we were talking about how to stand out as a candidate. You had a variety of other job panels. You had speakers all talking about information and tips for job seekers, especially job seekers who are 40 and over. Okay. The tips and tricks, it was advertised as 40 and over, but the tips that we were talking about were useful for anyone, regardless of age. You have to register to get the playback, but I highly recommend doing that. It's a great way of getting some added information. And honestly, with 4 hours, it was hard to absorb it all. Michelle, you were there, right? It's hard to absorb it all at once. Okay. I was there for the full 4 hours and I missed things. So I'm going back and watching some of those individual playbacks as well, because some of that information was really useful. So the last time I'm probably going to do that, but feel free to go ahead and register to get that playback as well. Okay. Any other questions that I can answer for you before I let you all go?
Thank you.
Thank you all. And hopefully I'll see you all next week. Have a great week, everybody. Good luck.